I consider myself an actress first and foremost, but I make my living casting, and people are my drug of choice. And so that is how I've been able to make a living in this crazy business of ours. You're already in this crazy business by being here. And I'm a little bit of like guerrilla style, where I've done pretty much everything. Like, just in Ian's film, the 48-hour film festival, which was just like a crazy, screwball weekend of craziness. And then I've done 2 Steven Spielberg movies. I've literally put a kid on tape for Steven in my 1-bedroom apartment in California. So I do highbrow, lowbrow, ridiculous, super fancy, like A-lister icons, to just like student films. Pretty much anybody that wants to create art, if I love the story, or I love the person, or I love the character, I'm in it. Come hell or high water. I love art. I'm one of those weird lifers. I'll do anything for my art. And like I said, my main drug of choice is people. My husband and I are working on creating a TV series. And so it's based on our casting stories. The weird thing is, here in Pittsburgh, so I'm here working on this Ethan Coen film. Do you all know the Coen Brothers? Yeah. Everybody does. Yeah, because you're cool kids, but you're not kids. You're just cool. So this is Ethan's movie, and I'm working on that movie. And the weird thing is I started as an intern for one day on Fargo. The weird thing is when it was shooting, it hadn't been released yet, so it wasn't like the famous movie that it is today. And I only did it to get close to a casting director, because as an actor, I just wanted to get close to one of the 3 Janes. And I heard she was in Minnesota casting some movie. And I showed up in this gym with all these interns. And okay, I don't know if you ever compare people to animals, but if this woman, Jane Brody, was an animal, she'd be one of those little dogs that's really kind of scary and might bite you. And so this woman, I just wanted her to love me as an actor. She was one of the 3 Janes, back in the day. These casting director Janes were like the trilogy of like the gods of casting. And so I showed up in this gym, and she said, who doesn't mind getting yelled at today? And I was like, me! Like, I didn't care, yell at me, hurt me, just let me be close to you. She's like, fine, you. And so then I got to do that day. Now I actually have her job. Not that I stole it, but I am in town in Pittsburgh, ironically, doing what she did in their movies, casting the day players. So some of the smaller roles, the supporting roles, and I get thrown in to cast some of the leading roles as well, but the principals and then the background. So I am doing many of the things she did years and years later, which is weird, right? To have that. And that was pre-Instagram. You were all not even born, whatever, but it's just a privilege. And I look at it like, to me, it's like a spiritual, whatever you believe in, as long as it's bigger than you, just like this creative, it almost feels spiritual, like to be doing that now. And that's really how I started so long ago. And now I'm doing what she did. And I happen to be in Pittsburgh talking to y'all. But that's how I started in casting. Intern for one day. That's something I would say to you all. Say yes, 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 yes. When you're starting out, say yes. Like, do as much as you possibly can in all departments, right? Like, even if you think, I don't want to do makeup or casting or whatever, like, just do it so that you can find out like really what makes you feel alive on a movie set or a TV set. Like, sometimes you don't know until you get that experience and get that high, get that like creative high, like, this is where I need to be, or this is what I want to pursue. At the end of the day, you're the product of your decisions. Like, you can't use excuse, I don't have money, I wasn't born into a famous family, I didn't get that opportunity because I look like this. No, make your own opportunities. That's all based on your decisions, even being here today, being a part of this incredible program. I'm really impressed with y'all. I'd like to be in your movies someday. So what a casting director does is we procure the talent. So we provide choices. Our director is usually the boss or the producer. Sometimes we get to pick, sometimes we don't, but we will find the talent for a particular project. Now that's different than an agent. An agent reps the talent, right? So the agent gets like a percentage or whatever, a fee on top of like your salary if you were to get cast. They represent you. A talent agent is different than a casting director. So don't ever call me like a casting agent. Whatever. They're two totally different jobs. I go to agents and I go to managers, and then I also do weird things like post on Instagram and Craigslist, or literally stalk people. Like, yeah, and usually I do not look cute at all, and I look kind of scary because I never sleep, and so then I'll go up to someone, my line is, I know you think this is gonna sound weird, but I'm a casting director, and I think you'd be great for whatever. Like, I have cast so many people, like I've accosted them on the street, basically. And I'm a really big believer in giving everyone an opportunity, giving everybody a chance. Like, I get really bored with the same choices, and so I'm one of those weirdos where I will lose so much sleep and so much time because I love to give everybody an opportunity. You know, if you think you're right for something, then I generally give you that opportunity that people may not get. And that's kind of our business. Not every casting director. Some will just stay in casting film only, TV only, commercials only, or theater only, or they will only kind of work with talent agents. And our career is very artisanal. It's not real common what we do because we work all over the place, like I said, in many mediums. And we go on like a hunt. We just finished this incredible project. It's called The Nickel Boys. It's based on a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. We had 2 weeks to try to find the lead. And this is an MGM project. And so we did everything. We went to the agents. We Craigslist, and this kid was supposed to be a church boy. We literally cold called churches. Seriously, it was insane. That wasn't too fruitful, but we tried. So we just, make love to the phone. Our friends, like, constantly call, text, talk. Do you know someone like this? This is what we need. We wound up not finding the lead. The lead my colleague found, but we saw 1,500 kids in not even a week, so you figure you're prepping. Of the 1,500 kids, there was this role where this kid was supposed to stutter, which nobody turned in a tape stuttering. Out of 1,500, there were 2 that were really interesting that we thought for this other role. And so we called them and we said, hey, it's a really hard role. You want to try it? You'd have to stutter. Give it a whirl. And one of the kids got cast. He's working right now. He's now going to be in the union. If he plays his cards right, I swear he will be a household name. I promise you. I get the chills when I say it. And I set him up with a talent agent because I knew, oh my God, this kid needs guidance, as he is going to play with the big boys now. And he's literally shooting. Like, as we speak, it's like, to me, that's a miracle. But again, like, we're always looking for that special vibe person, spirit, whatever. Yes. Hi.
Hello.
You've been dying to say something. I feel it.
Since you mentioned that,
too. Introduce yourself.
Yes.
I'm Jackie Junko.
Hi, Jackie Junko.
So, as you were just saying, like, you like saying he could become a household name.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
has there been anyone before that you've worked with that they like weren't a name before, but like now they're like,
Yes!
who?
Okay, but I mean, you guys are so young, but hopefully you'll know this because you're movie people. Do you remember the movie Captain Phillips? Yes? Okay, so that's probably like my crowning jewel. So that movie Captain Phillips with Tom Hanks and the Somali pirates. Remember, I am the captain now guy? Barkat Abdi, he came to an open call that we hosted in Minnesota, and he was nominated for an Oscar. And he brought me as his guest to the Golden Globes. So if I ever cast you in anything, you got to one-up that. And the only one-up that is the Oscars. So you got to one-up Barkat. So there's a prime example. So it was weird. We were on the Sony lot in Los Angeles doing another movie. It never got made, Little House on the Prairie. So this big fancy producer heard that. One of my niches is searches like that, where if there's a search, if it's a big one, you can bet will be called. Or if it's like an interesting market, like, oh, Somali people, are there Somali actors? we did Gran Torino. That was the Hmong population. Sometimes like we're really good at kind of embedding in a population and trying to get to know the people, the real people, right, in a certain population. So I met this producer, and then we were Googling where the Somali populations were, you know, Minnesota, and I played it real cool, like, yeah, Minnesota, that'd be cool. Really, it's like a second home to me, so I was like, yes. So we literally had a team, and we would flyer cars. I ate so much Somali soup, I can't even tell you. It's really good, though, if you've ever had Somali soup. So we would just go to, like, the Somali Mall. We would just get to know the people. And 900 people showed up. And so we had to kind of shift course, because it was like at first I was meeting everyone like, oh, I love you. I've spent all this time with one person. It's like 900 people. And at the time, prior to now, what you've seen in the movie, it's very Hollywood, right? Prior, the first draft, it included this a wife and kids. So the pirate had a wife and kids. It was more emotional. So we had women and kids. You know, it didn't turn out to be that way, you know, because sometimes a movie's going to be what it's going to be. I think like a person, a lot of times, I don't know if you experience this with your art, like you have this idea for your film or whatever, and then it kind of wants to be what it wants to be, right? Like it goes through this process, and you let go of some things, and you stand firm on other things, and it's just a beautiful process. So anyway, so we were swimming with 900 people. And apparently, I kind of remember this. Barkhad says it all the time, but I mean, he's got such a great face, like, right? Like that guy just has a presence. And he was almost going to leave, and I'm like, you're not leaving, you know. So apparently, I brought him closer in the line. I'm not sure. But it wound up that we narrowed it down. So of the 900 people, we went to other cities. And so we would start to mix and match these pirates. The callbacks, these gentlemen really didn't know, they weren't actors. And so I had to help them with their acting, really, because they would get real big, you know. So I rented lights, you know, so that they would feel the hot light. I'd be in the middle of them, like, you know, like, I'm 5'2" white girl, like, you don't scare me, and I'd be pushing them around, and it was crazy. Like, we really tried to, like, create the scene, and that is where that improv came when he did I Am the Captain, because we kept doing like all this weird improv. Like I wanted it to feel like they were storming a ship. And then at the end of the day, the four guys that were cast, they all came. They were friends, and they had bonded in that open call when they showed up in the gym with 900 people, and it was just beautiful when they finally got cast. Like I remember I was home in Wisconsin, and my mom was like, had this terminal illness. It was so crazy. I mean, we create art no matter what, right, guys? Like we show up for our art. And I remember, it was just like a really weird time in my life. And they called me, and said that, it was official. And they, ran into the ocean. And then it just all came. We got the SAG Award, the Golden Globe, Oscar nomination. And I've worked on 2 other projects where one TV show, Castle Rock, I cast someone to play the younger version of him. And then I just did a TV series. It's coming out. It's called The Curse. And we needed to find a Somali girl to be his daughter or sister. And it wound up that one of my first Somali friends that came to that casting call, who wasn't cast, remember I said we had women, then they cut the women, but there was this one. I've been keeping up with her through the years. She brought her girl. They fell in love with that girl and this other random girl. They rewrote the script in a weekend this summer to accommodate both girls, and that little girl was cast. And that's because the mom showed up at our casting call years before she even had a kid. So sometimes, I just think, that's part of what I do. It's I'll remember who's who and what, and we try to put the word out so that people can have an opportunity to audition, to just be in our, and it's kind of beautiful to me. It's a really beautiful experience. So that's probably the biggest one. And then, you guys you're so young. Do you remember the movie True Grit? Yeah. Okay. Kind of, so not the John Wayne, but where Haley, do you guys remember Haley Steinfeld? She's a singer now. So I was on that project for like 9 months. So we were all over the US scouring rodeos and ranches and meeting these little cowgirls that would come in with their like cowgirl boots and their, you know, their rope and stuff at rodeos and be like, yeah, I'm on to audition for your movie. You know, we saw 10,000 girls. And that was an Oscar-nominated role too. 10,000 girls, it was down to 3, you know, but again, like that is kind of what we do. You know, we get in there and find that special soul. Any other actors? No, one? In the entire thing, do you guys use him for everything you shoot? You're kind of an actor? Kind of?
We have a lot of dabblers.
Dabblers? Okay. Well, some you might not know you're an actor yet. Sometimes we'll meet someone like, they do not know yet that they're an actor. But I always say too, sometimes you're just not right for something that you'll be right for later. And it's really heartbreaking, but it's just part of our business, right? It's like the best high and like the most painful experience as well. Yes, hi.
I have an ensemble band. Hi, Francis Rowan.
Hi.
Are there any like people that you were casting and you kind of feel like you let them get away? Like they kind of went on to do bigger things and you weren't able to be part of their process?
We ultimately don't always get to pick. We put them forth. But I always say we have a pretty good eye, like where we kind of know someone is special, and then we're usually right later. Like, well, of course she's got a TV series. Like I did this little film, this short film that my husband and I wrote, and a gal there were 2 girls that were just kind of very small roles in it, and they're blowing up. If you watch Cobra Kai, Vanessa Rubio is like huge. And she was in our little short film. She was in this theatrical production of mine. And this other girl, Sashir Zameda, went on to SNL. You know, we knew they were dynamic and stuck them in our movie. So yes, that does happen. But it's usually not that we didn't give them an opportunity. It's the director sometimes will go in a different way. And that doesn't mean that it was wrong. It's just their taste. And then now that Rami Malek, holy God, he's amazing. The funny thing is, we were doing this one movie and we loved him. And I know we had him for this one thing. I looked it up, it was from 2014 or something. And I had sent this thing really pitching him and saying, Rami rocks. And we were laughing at it. And he didn't get cast for this particular role, but we were adamant about how amazing he was. And I was just laughing at, Rami rocks. But yes, he does. And later he didn't need that movie because he went on to bigger and better things. So oftentimes, like someone is in our world, they just haven't found that role yet. Yet. Like I say, my favorite 4-letter word, next. Seriously. Next. Because even as filmmakers, so if you're not actor, you know how it feels, right? You want to work on, next. Great. Take what you learn. Keep moving. Yes, I saw a hand. Hi.
Hi. I'm Paul Johnson. I'm a teaching artist.
Yes, and we met, and you gave me a nice hug.
We're best friends, basically.
Yeah, total best. Yes.
So my question is, what's the hardest project you've had? Like, what's taking the longest to cast or find someone for? And then like on the opposite end, what's the easiest one? Like the quickest casting you've ever done?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, the longest, definitely True Grit. And here's another thing, as filmmakers, again, remember in the beginning I said say yes, say yes, say yes, say yes? Just my experience, not that I'm right, just my experience. I was on another show, so we used to cast a lot of do you guys ever watch like the HGTV and DIY shows like, I hate my yard, my kitchen, all this stuff? Well, it was great, because then we could go to our friends, like, you need a new kitchen, a new yard. So we would first cast the hosts and then the homeowners, which was really fun, because you can get into people's houses. So I was doing that in Minnesota, and then I heard about, this mentor of mine, Rachel Tenner, who was a mentor, and she's one of the overall casting directors of the movie I'm working on now. She had said, well, I'm doing this search, but I'll do anything to work for it with you. And she's like, there's no money. I'm like, I don't care. I will get there. I'll fly myself. I'll get myself to every weird little place in the United States. Like, I will get there. I don't care if there's money. And I asked my team, what should I do? They're like, go, do it. And so then what we did is, so she would like make me her like helper at an open call. So I'd get like $100, or even though it cost me maybe $500 to get there. But I just was indispensable which I would say the same thing, you guys. Be indispensable. Why be mediocre? I mean, if you want to be, and if it scratches your itch, great. We need the people that keep the wheels turning. But if you really want to stand out, go above and beyond every time. Every time, because you need to, to stand out, to make a living in this business, It's a bitch, it's hard, but it's, like I said, the best heart that beats. So that, thing, I was like, I just show up, oh, I'm in Lubbock, Texas, I'm here to help, And then she would do it, she would have the hotel room for the casting, and then I would stay there, And so then it wound up that okay, well, let's pair a little bit. And then I wound up just getting onto payroll, but still working my tail off. But at first I was like, I will lose money for this experience. I'm going to invest in this. I'll figure it out. I don't care. And it really was great. We were all over. We did a bunch of places in Texas. We did Memphis. We were all over the place. And so that was altogether 9 months. But just casting Haley, casting Maddie Ross, that was a good chunk, half of it. And if we weren't at a rodeo or a ranch stalking little gals, we were watching tapes. And that's how when we was down to 3 people, one was a tape from Canada. So we'd be, and those were in the days, like this is before, the kind of phones we have now. So we'd be downloading and uploading and let it run all night long and be almost crying, like, oh my God, like, what if this is a tape, it's not labeled? Like, we would go crazy. And so that was pretty incredible, and obviously it turned out to be an Oscar-nominated role. And then I morphed into casting the background. And I think I was on that show longer than anybody. Okay, yes?
When I was little, anytime I would leave the house, I would actively try to get discovered by someone. Like, I would be acting my ass off and just being as obnoxious as possible. I might even go as far as to sing.
Okay.
Just in a giant eagle. I want to know, does that happen? Do you ever walk up to children just in public and say, be in my movie?
No, I usually don't accost people if I'm not looking for a particular role. But sometimes I do, and I'm like, you have a great face, you have a great personality. Yeah, I probably have done that. But when it comes to like a real role, we did this, Akira. It didn't get made. Yeah, Taika Waititi. So we were doing a search for the leads. I was at the Hollywood Bowl in LA. It's a real big place. I was at this concert for something else. And sometimes, my partners, like, my assistants or my husband, they'll be like, oh no, just like shut it off. And sure enough, I saw this kid and I was like, he was far away. And they were like, no, like we're socializing. And I took off my shoes and I'm like running. And he's a child. I'm, okay, I gotta say something. I gotta say something normal to the mom. And now I'm barefoot and weird. And so I was just like, oh my God. And yeah, and it was so, oh my God, I love that boy. And he and I, when we met, it was like this thing. And when he came in and read, it was like he was talking about me having this light. And when he saw me running, it was just this beautiful thing. He didn't get cast yet, but that kid. I sent him to Amblin Entertainment. I sent him to different places saying, man, oh man, someone's got to have a project for this kid. He's so magical. Yeah, so I've done that. And I usually, they have a parent. And I'm like, I'm really normal, like look me up. No one has ever really gotten creeped out or turned me down. I don't know why, because some of my methods are not the most normal. Yeah, and one time we were doing this video for The Roots, the band, which is really beautiful, and we needed a kid in a wheelchair. And that was important for me, because I told the producers, until you have money and have your crap together, I'm not going to cast someone if I don't think you can take care of them. What if this gentleman has to use a bathroom? I'm safety, no one's going to take advantage of anybody that I put forth. And at the end of the day, oh my gosh, we couldn't find a person that I felt safe enough to cast. So, I felt so bad. It was the night before. What happens? This kid comes rolling on through. Like, oh my God, I need you to be in the Roots video tomorrow. Yeah, but usually if we have something going. Otherwise, oh my gosh, you have a great energy, let's connect. usually on social or something, and watch the stuff I do. Let's be friends. That's what I'll say. Yes?
Hi, I'm Jackson Fraser.
Hi.
Do you know if, I don't know if this is like, do you work out of LA?
I do. That's where I'm based.
Yeah. So I'm like based out of New York, so there's no like in-person casting anymore.
There is.
Is that, I haven't seen any of
Yeah.
at least that I've been sent lots of self-tapes, but I haven't been in person since COVID. Is that back in LA? Do you think
It's coming back. We did it here in Pittsburgh. But I will say this, don't get crazy about how the quality of your self-tape, that's a fallacy. I don't care if even this TV series I just did, there was a problem, and my producer, they said, Debbie, do it outside, we don't care. Like, you could be in a box, in a paper bag, on a cell phone, and if you're right, it's gonna go to the right people. Yes, so don't spend a lot of money on self-tapes, but just get it any way you can. It's coming back. In this project, I'll say this for the Ethan Coen thing, most of the people that got cast, some of them were via Zoom, but most of the time, yeah, we want to see the people. Those people tended to do better. So if you get the opportunity, I always say show up in the flesh. But if you don't, just get that self-tape in and be truthful. I don't care about the quality of your self-tape. That's what I think is a big fallacy, because you guys are spending so much money, all this crap, and you don't need it. Great for the people making money on it, but you don't need it. I don't care what it looks like. I just want an honest portrayal. Hi. This is fun.
I'm Jason Laskin.
Hi.
I was wondering, so like, you were kind of saying how like actors get like recommendations to be on movies. So like, is that the same with casting directors? Like, have you gotten opportunities through like recommendations from other people?
You mean if I'm hired as a casting director?
Yeah, like have you been hired because someone like gave this person a recommendation saying you were good?
For me,
Yeah.
That's the only way. I don't advertise. I don't have business cards. It's really word of mouth. It's not like what you know or who you know. It's really what you know about who you know, but that's the secret. But my business is all referral. And if I hire assistants, it's mostly a referral. Once in a while, I'll get desperate and I'll put like an ad out. And we work a lot with the same directors because they like our style. But that's not to say that we won't do some random little thing to be nice. Yes. Hi.
Hi. What's your favorite, like one of your favorite projects that you've worked on, either as a casting director or as an actor?
That's nice that you care. Well, personally, if I had to give you a top 10 list, they're not popular really. Like my taste, I love rock in your shoe and, you know, where you want to go jump off a bridge. Like I love dark drama. Like I just love like the rock in your shoe, like where it bugs me. I'm like, oh my God, you know, I'm still thinking about it. Like that's the kind of art I like. So my top 10 list is probably not like most people. And when I interview, my favorite question is, what's your favorite movie? Not that I care, I just want to know what you're about. I'm not clocking you or docking you. I just want to know who you are. That's the kind of stuff I love. But I'll tell you what, you know what's crazy? My favorite thing I did as an actor, there was this thing where I had, and it was a student film, so it wasn't one of the fancy projects I've done, and I really wanted it, and I had to like leave my kid. I just wasn't feeling it. Like, I had to get to a place as an actor. What would make me abandon my child? But that's important because I always say, and this is as an actor and as a filmmaker, be truthful to you. Because it's really important as an artist because nobody else has your experience, your stories, your life experience. Listen, one for the meal, one for the reel. I will do a commercial, whatever, get a little money, one for the meal. But the stuff like as creators, it's really about your experience. And if you are truthful, I don't mean telling the truth, but your insides, be you, have that inner compass, right? Like so that you can be truthful to how you feel, so that you are truthful in an imaginary circumstance, who you are, and then for art, you know, we dial it up. And so I had this thing where, you know, I wasn't really feeling it, and then I was like, I don't know, I just really committed in the audition. I was really connected to the person I was reading with, like I made it be like very sensual because I didn't care. Like it wasn't like I was attracted to this gal. I mean, it's all good, but like, you know, whatever, I'm hetero. I wasn't attracted to the girl. but I was going for it because I was just like, I was like, what would make me abandon my kid? What would make me go there? Because I think, well, that's one thing I wouldn't do. I wouldn't, hurt a child. Well, what would be an actor, Debbie? Take off your freaking makeup and be an actor. Be real. This is not about, it's not always about what we want to show the world. It's about what would make us do that. Who are we as an artist? How do you guys get your message out? So that actually was really powerful for me, because being in that thing, I really committed to what would make me love someone so much in a twisted way that I would hurt my most precious cargo. What would make me do that? So I chose love, right? Like toxic love, whatever, that makes you do crazy shit. So that as an actor, even though nobody will ever see that, but that to me, that just gets me high. And then casting, Ready Player One, do you guys know that movie? Oh, okay. That was a high for us to cast. We were tasked with the 3 male characters, right? So Wade Watts. Basically, Stephen just wanted to pause in what was happening and for us to take a stab. And so it was really nice because Wade Watts, they said it could be anything, right? It doesn't matter what this guy looked like, just go for it. And so we were kind of responsible for those 3 roles. We wound up finding Shoto, and he came from I would say a friend of a friend. We go crazy on social media when we're casting something. I blast everybody I know. We have 80,000 people. I'd be like, do you know somebody? And so it was somebody that forwarded it to someone else, and it wound up we cast Shoto, but it was really so fun to give people this opportunity to audition for Wade Watts. And it's really funny because there was this kid, here's a lesson for you, there was this kid that wasn't right, even though they said any shape or size. He was not physically who was cast, but he was really an interesting kid, I thought. And I knew he wasn't 100% right, but I sent him. I don't send everybody up. So I sent him up the chain. He wasn't right, but you got to meet this kid. Wow. My overall casting director, Ellen Lewis, they were like, this kid, wow, yeah, he's really interesting. He's not right, but he's so interesting. Later, I think he thought that it wasn't real, and he posted something really rude on our Facebook or something. I think, oh my God, honey, you just cut your throat. Here I'm going to bat for you, and it's just funny because a lot of people don't get it, the decorum, and yeah, it's too bad because I will not. That kid creeps me out right now. You know what I mean? Because he wrote some really nasty stuff. But little does he know, I sent his video up the chain. He wasn't right. But so that was a high. That show was a high. And then going to London for the premiere, it was just fun. Because to me, that was a very special thing. And when I was real little, I had wrote this story about E.T. before the movie came out. If you didn't see the movie, you didn't know what E.T. was. You didn't know that it was a weird creature. And I wrote it, and there was this boy on the bus, Kelly Bentz, who was the space guy, who always talked about space. And he sat in the front because the cool kids sat in the back. But Kelly sat in the front, and he would talk about, he was going to enter this contest about this E.T., and he wrote this Martian, this alien. Well, I'm like, I'm going to write a story about E.T. And I made it like a person, right? The son my dad never had, the brother. And whatever, I won honorable mention from Stephen's company, and it was weird. And I got the book in the mail as a prize. And so it was just a weird circle of fate to years later be tasked to work for Amblin Entertainment on a really special search. So that probably was one of my faves. Yes.
Hi, I'm Dorian Steinfeld, and my question is there a difference in the casting process between bigger companies or more well-known things than not as big?
Yes, there is. I mean, it just depends. The thing is, a lot of the, some of the roles are going to be parsed out, which is sad, to certain agencies, right? So they'll package, they'll be like, well, if you want this person, you got to take these people. And to me, that's really boring. Sometimes it's offer only. Sometimes famous people, they'll do it offer only. It just depends on the project. But even the big projects that I've worked on, some are artisanal and some are just very, just very in the box. This one movie, I probably shouldn't say what it was, but it's a franchise with a lot of funny movies. Not super substantial in terms of meaning, but really funny. And I remember it was really interesting, like literally what they do is they try to get some person from every industry, right? So it was like, who's popular right now in sports? Could it be like a quarterback? Could it be a coach? Could it be whatever? Who are the popular people? Who is like, and so they had certain demographics. What comedians, what reality star? And to me it was kind of fun, but kind of sad in a sense, because like, it just seemed a little packagey, but they make a shit ton of money, this particular company. But we'd have on the wall, okay, we'd throw it out there, like who are the most, interesting people right now in reality TV? Who are the coolest hip hop artists right there? Who are the coolest sports people? So we would come up with lists, which my assistants loved, because that would be like their job, researching and then sending lists, and then we would audition those people or make offers, but we'd present those to the production company, and that's how they fill a lot of their movies, because they try to reach a certain demographic. That's a little secret, which is interesting. I didn't know that existed. It was less creative. But I suppose, listen, it's also, we're not in show art. Some of us are, but we're show business. There's a business aspect of it. So that's probably why they make a shit ton of money. Yes? Hi, again.
Was that a scary movie by chance?
No, it was not a scary movie. But yes, that kind of thing happens. And you're like, oh, yeah. Let me guess who's going to show up next. But yes. Yes.
Hi, Jack Delisi. I was wondering if, do you often have to deal with disgruntled actors who are happy that they didn't get the role?
Yeah, and I want to be like, check thyself. Yes. Listen, it's really never up to us. Sometimes, yes, we can just cast who we want, but mostly it's a director's medium. We have the director's vision, the directors trust us, so we will send who our choices. And it's really the director that picks, usually. Sometimes we pick, yes, and people are disgruntled, and I think it's such a shame because it's a crapshoot. Like every day we're not getting calls, we're being rejected. So it's just part of it. And I always just say, be gracious. We did this TV series, Escape at Dannemora. Do you guys know that? That Showtime, it was...
That must have been shot around here.
Yes, a prison scene. Yeah. It was funny because we had the stand-in. He did a lot of work with us, and there was a weird mistake when it came to the screening where we were not invited. It was an error. I worked on that for so long. My travel memo said 5 days. I was in a hotel. My travel memo said 5 days. I was in a hotel for a year and a half. There was no way that we would have ever been missed purposefully. It was a mistake. Whatever. And it was like just this weird error. And then the researcher was like, oh my God, where's the casting department? Oh, here, come with us. So we were like, oh, Jesus, we felt bad. Whatever. It was a mistake. I understand that. Just an error, human error. But one of the stand-ins wrote the meanest note because he was like, I can't believe I did all this work and you guys, blah, blah. And it's like, honey, I barely got to go myself. But so you get a lot of that. And I always just say, check thyself. Because it's really a huge disgrace. But yeah, people bug the crap out of us if they don't get cast. Yes, which is rude. Yes, you and then you. Yes, hi.
Do you, when you get an audition, do you ever think about it after? Because I
yes.
get an audition, and I'm like, on to the next one, off it goes.
That's good
Never
though.
Think about it again.
That's good
because you don't want to get disgruntled about it. You're like, well, if you call back, then you get called back.
I'd say 50-50. Here, just as my thought on it, it's good that you're leaving it out because to me that means you probably auditioned well. If you feel like you gave it all, you have nothing left. To me, if I feel that way, I know I've given everything. There's nothing left to give. But I also believe in the craft of acting, so then I do think there is a craft, a technical craft. So if the world is ending, I can go in there and nail it. Like I said, my mom, my best friend in the universe, passing, and I still was able to do my work. So I do think if you're not booking and you're just a lot of auditions, maybe something is wrong. Maybe you need some coaching or whatever. So sometimes I do think it's balance, my friend. I would say balance, because you don't want to not care at all about it, and you want to be objective about your work, so you don't want to only audition and never get booked. If you're letting it go, that's good, because that probably means you're doing well and giving it all you can give. Once you're in the callback circle, it's kind of a catch-22, because then it becomes sometimes just more of luck. You know, once you're being called back for something, we know you're good. We know, you know, then it's like, well, that reminds me of my ex. This person, that person. You know, it could be the dumbest reason why you're not getting cast. Dumb. I've heard really weird-ass things. I always say have a full life outside, like have a full life, because it's so heartbreaking that you just want a full life so that it doesn't kill you, or otherwise, my God, we'd all be jumping off the bridge. Yes?
Who's your favorite director that you've worked with?
There's a lot of good ones on my list, right? I would say Ethan Coen. Just being in the room with him, like, you know, when an actor will audition and how excited he gets and how he remembers people, because he's an artist and yet he's such a wonderful human, you know, because some people are just, there's a lot of assholes in Hollywood, and he is definitely not one. He's like just a pro and just a purveyor of the human heart. So yeah, he would be my favorite, not just because I'm here working on his movie. I mean, what a gift to be able to work with fine humans. And you know, they're out there. Yeah. I'll have to tell him I got that question. Yes, hi.
Are there any actors that you just can't stand, or like that either
Tape this.
either as actors or just as people? And then in a similar vein, what can people do to prevent themselves from falling into this like star, like this burnout star who's just kind of an asshole to everyone in society?
Good question. I think, honestly, a lot of the A-levels don't have anything to prove, so they're usually all right. It's kind of those C-levels that are always trying to prove something. And, you know, I obviously can't say names, but yes. Yes. And also what I find, too, I would say women's inhumanity to women is disgusting. Like, I've seen it happen so many times where, you know, there will be someone else comes in, stereotypically more it doesn't even have to be pretty, like more famous, more social, more this, more that. And I see like people being rude and you know, people's inhumanity to people. Like you see it all the time. And listen, we are filled with we're sensitive beings. Whether you're an actor or you're a creator, we are sensitive, okay? We are emotional creatures. So we're always gonna get our feelings hurt. You know, we all have insecurities, and it's just, that's why I say have a full life. Because if you own yourself, guys, you're gonna bat 1,000. I always say that with dating. Oh, you know, some of you are too young for that, but I say if you own yourself, you will bat 1,000. Who cares if you have a zit, or you think you're too fat, or you got this, or you got that? Who cares? Just own yourself. Be you. Own yourself, and you will bat 1,000. Otherwise, you know, when we let our insecurities win, we're going to probably hurt people, and then you have those types. And it's really hard. I always say it too, have a really good group conscience, like family, friends, people that are gonna help you out, because people are gonna offend you. You're gonna get yelled at, people are gonna offend you, people are gonna be rude. And if you have a good group conscience, I would say go to the right doctor, and I don't mean a doctor, but I mean like, you know, if you need someone to talk to, go to your friends. If you need advice about the shoot, go to your mentors. If you need help navigating film relationships, find your people. When I'm okay inside, it doesn't bother me. When I'm feeling insecure inside, it can kill me. I mean, this one movie I did, this gal I loved, oh my God, she was like a soap star. And back in the day, now it's probably reality TV, but the soap opera's like, oh my God, like, oh, we loved her. She was like the most coolest thing ever. We probably matured right along with her. And oh my God, I'm gonna work with her, wow. And she was really not very nice. And she did some really cruel things. And I thought about it, and like, I feel like that's probably what was missing, is finding a family. Because once I spoke about it, I was like, oh my gosh, she really hurt my feelings too. She was so offensive. Like, we need each other. We need each other more than just to hold a light or a C-stand. Like, we need each other also emotionally. Support each other. Go to each other's screenings. Go to each other's plays. Read each other's poems, scripts. You know, we really need each other. But like I said, a lot of the A-listers don't have a damn thing to prove. So I find those, as a stereotypical whole, it's not quite like the bottom feeders who are trying to prove themselves.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned like people saying like nasty crap online.
Yeah.
But have you ever had like someone like come to you just like straight up and been like, what the heck? Like just like freaking out, like, you know?
Yeah, more bottom feedery. You know, I like I said, I try to insulate myself. And also, I can't really take it personal because it's not my fault if they're not right for something. And when I am more whole inside, it doesn't affect me as much. But because I am an emotional creature, we are all sensitive, we're all artists. Yeah, you know, it can get to you. And there are a lot of personalities in our business. Like, you know, it takes all types. Like, I love playing in the sandbox. Like, you know, you have your crabby directors, you have your people you just can't please, and we all do our function and then some to make a beautiful piece of art. So you win a little here, let go a little there, take your medicine there, heal thyself, and it all works out.
So when you're on like a smaller, more independent thing,
Yeah.
do you see like actors try to like work harder than on like a bigger, like higher scale movie? Do you think there's a little bit more dedication to a smaller film, or do you see that a lot more prevalent in like bigger films because they're like more widely known and people try to get as much attention as possible?
You know what I think? I think it's a law of average of both, and that's why I say, you know, you don't want to necessarily stand out just to stand out, but that's why I say don't be mediocre. Get there early, stay there late, ask the questions. Go above and beyond. So I see the law of average, whether it's fancy movies or little ones. I always see people that stand out. I always pick my favorites. And it's usually not in my department. I'll say that prop guy, holy balls. Like that AD, wow. Like I'll usually pick my favorites because it's usually like a couple people are real standouts, most mediocre, and then ones that just are putting their time in. And it's okay, but you know, it just, got to pull out the stops.
Oh, this is just a personal question.
Okay.
What's your favorite movie?
Oh, Things Behind the Sun by Allison Anders. Again, it's on my top 10 list, which you guys have never heard of probably. Allison Anders is one of my favorite directors, writers. Things Behind the Sun. It's disturbing. But it's really special because it's based on a childhood trauma of hers, and she kind of recreated it. So she even went back to the scene, the actual location of a trauma, and used that location. And there's this scene, oh my God, gives me the chills. It's Don Cheadle, and he's talking about love, loving this girl that's, ooh, she's a hot mess. We all probably know about some of those. If not yet, you will. And he's ripping apart this cereal box, and he's talking about his love for her. And it's one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever witnessed. Because it doesn't have to be much, right? Like when we're one with our art, it doesn't matter what you say, are you connected? Like I said, are you being truthful in an imaginary circumstance? That's one of the most profound scenes I've ever seen.
Do you have any closing advice for our students?
Okay, 2 things. Because we were talking about it. So we did this casting search for Star Wars. We were casting little Princess Leia and little Luke Skywalker, but we couldn't say it. So they let us say Disney, and they let us use the Disney symbol, so we looked normal. And then we were saying, you know, a blue-eyed blonde boy and a, you know, brunette girl. And it was so funny. I was telling Ian, a lot of people thought it was Dennis the Menace. I was like, oh, it ain't Dennis the Menace, but okay. And so then they would get to the next levels, and they would eventually sign like NDAs. Holy. But we would, we would try to ascertain, like, can this girl run a galaxy? Is this girl gonna kick my ass? So that was really special, because sometimes we can't say. So I always say, like, whatever you're doing, do it with your whole heart and your whole soul, because you just never know, right? Like, it's all gonna be part of your experience and your body of work, whether you're writing, creating, acting, whatever. And so, but that was really special. And we were in LA, New York, Minnesota. Yeah, that was really special. And then I was gonna say, my advice, 5 things. This is just for me. Talent? How can I define talent? I can't really. It's like a teacher tried it once and he poured water on this desk. You can't contain it. Talent is, I can't define talent. Training. I'm sorry, guys, but train. You need to have your stuff together, even if your world is falling apart. Because what happens in those times of stress, your training will kick in, because it's rote. For any technician, any artist, there is a technical craft of whatever you do. Not just, I'm an artist. Talent, training, employability, just to be pleasant humans. It is true. I mean, of all the people that wanted to work with us, there were a couple people in our office that just did not have the right chemistry for us. You just need to be employable. Show up, be pleasant. Contacts. I always say this to every group. 10% will follow up with me. And you'll say, no, we're not going to be that group. That's been my average. And I say that every time. People are like, oh, that's not us. Usually is that. I'm your contact now. Ian's your contact. Your teachers are your contacts, right? Contacts. And then the last thing is luck. Now, my husband Adam he doesn't call it luck. He calls it anointing. I call it luck, anointing luck. But to be lucky or anointed, you must put yourself in luck's path. So I say, do it. Say yes, of course, taking care of yourself. But to be lucky, you got to sing in the freaking grocery stores, like whatever, like really do things. Like to be anointed, you have to get out there and try. What?
Create the luck.
Create the luck, yes. And it's a law of average a lot of times, guys. Most of my friends that are still doing it or that are making a living, thank God. I'm glad. I mean, listen, it's great. I have friends that do other things to make a living. I'm really grateful to be able to make a living doing this. But I also put myself out there constantly, even if it's something like this, so to be anointed, you got to put yourself in the path to be anointed or to be lucky. Thank you. You guys are great fun.